I'm Frankie Boyle. I'm a comedian, and I've always loved football. You've got a crowd in. It's like my first Edinburgh Fringe up there. This year, Russia will host the World Cup for its first time. How do you think the World Cup's going to go?
Brilliant. Come to Moscow, don't be afraid of anything. Come on, what can go wrong?
When the BBC was looking for someone to explore Russia in the build-up to the greatest show on earth, it had my name written all over it. In the run-up to the 2018 World Cup, relations between Russia and Britain are so bad that nothing I can say or do could possibly make them any worse, is the lie that I told BBC commissioners. But there's one problem. I'm terrified of flying. So my 2,000-mile journey from Glasgow to Moscow relied on cars, buses and trains. Not the best way to navigate the largest country on earth.
Нет, он говорит, на поездах ездит.
А прилетали не? Он прилетел?
Я говорю, он на поезде едет.
А, на поезде?
Да.
Ох, нифига себе.
But with Scotland not in this year's tournament, and worse still, England qualifying, how else can I enjoy Russia 2018? And discover a whole other world behind the World Cup.
Turn you on like Bathsheba, then cut you off like Crimea.
Meet my friend Vladimir.
This is the sea. Oh, a wee bit of grey in the beard there. Welcome to Russia. It's February, and here in Moscow it's minus 15 degrees. The view across this mighty city would be awe-inspiring, if only my eyelids hadn't frozen shut. That's me there, walking into a football stadium. It's enormous, but all I can think about is how terrible my breakfast was. The Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow is Russia's best-known venue and showpiece stadium. And on June the 14th, it hosts the first game of the World Cup finals, Russia versus Saudi Arabia. And that might be the last that we hear of the Russian national team, because at the moment, they're pretty terrible. They're currently ranked 65th in the world, 35 places underneath the Ukraine, which has got to hurt. Luzhniki was built in 1956, at the end of this snowy road. Once the centrepiece for Soviet sporting excellence, Luzhniki has also staged concerts for decadent Westerners like the Metallica, the Motley Crue, and the Bon Jovi. In 2010, U2 played the Luzhniki Stadium in front of 85,000 people, making it one of the worst human rights abuses in Russian history. The playing surface of Luzhniki is bathed in state-of-the-art full-spectrum lights to keep the grass fresh and green during Moscow's 18-month-long winter. The stadium has more lights than a Glasgow cannabis factory. Not that I've ever seen one, or have one in my basement. Why are we even talking about this? Russia's overall expenditure in the World Cup might end up being $20 billion. And who's to say that these hugely expensive stadia won't provide a useful legacy? At least it seems that Russia intends to use their showpiece stadiums for football, unlike Britain, who gave ours to West Ham. Of course, Russia isn't spending all this money just to showcase a fairly poor national team. Like any World Cup hosts, they're involved in national image building.
Russia.
8 years ago, an international gang of criminals, known to Interpol by the codename FIFA, awarded the World Cup to Russia. Many people assume that Russia bribed FIFA to host the 2018 World Cup, but I prefer to think that they did it the old-fashioned way, with death threats. The computers that Russia used for the bid were smashed up and destroyed after it was completed. Is that corruption, or just how any of us react when we've completed a deadline? Being awarded the role of World Cup hosts was a dream for Russia. It's time to shine on the international stage. But the dream went horribly wrong. Things kicked off in Ukraine. Russian soldiers annexed Crimea. Russian fans invaded France. Russian athletes got high. Russian gays got screwed. Russian prostitutes got work. And the image of the world's largest country was in tatters.
Should Vladimir Putin be leading Russia? Can any man simultaneously run two superpowers? Did Russia hack the American election? Nobody knows for sure. All we know for sure is that they recently hacked into my phone and filled it with porn just before my girlfriend looked at it.
The 2018 World Cup is Russia's chance to put everything right, to give us all something to cheer about. This summer, Russia is hosting the biggest party on the planet and throwing open its doors to the world.
Welcome to Russia! Welcome to Russia! Welcome to Russia!
But can football change the face of Russia? I don't know, but I can promise you this. I'm going to have a half-hearted attempt to find out.
Okay, good afternoon, students. So we're preparing for the World Cup.
I'm at a World Cup training program at Russia State Social University.
It is very important for us in our country because it's such type of event that creates the positive image of the country.
It's one of several World Cup courses being taught in host cities across Russia. 15,000 students are being coached on how to charm foreign guests and win over the Western media.
So we need to be very polite, very friendly, very happy to see everybody in our country.
It's the first time I've been in a class like this since the 3 years I spent at a Swiss finishing school.
Most important thing is to smile. And also we shouldn't forget that some people who will come to the World Cup can speak Russian. So we should remember how to greet them in Russian. Frankie?
Privet?
No, we shouldn't say privet.
No?
It's like, no, we should say only good afternoon, good night. So, доброе утро. Доброе утро.
Доброе утро.
It's good morning.
Next lesson is about helping a tourist lost in the Moscow subway.
Okay, we need to go to Tretyakovskaya from Sportivnaya.
It is here, just in case. So the second one?
The teacher decides to test the travel skills of a typical Scottish idiot.
How do I get to Kremlin?
I go for 3 stops and then I get out and there's a bolshoi.
Here.
There's a thing British people often say when they're given directions at the end. They go, you can't miss it, even though there's a good chance they will miss it and get lost and die at the side of a motorway somewhere. You just try and give them that wee moment of comfort. You can't miss it.
Once students have learned how to cope with a disorientated comedian, it's on to something slightly easier. How to survive a chemical attack.
I have a massive head, so I don't even know if the gas mask will fit.
This is the first time I've felt socially at ease in my entire adult life.
Take it off. Now you're ready for a gas attack?
Yeah, I should shave before the gas attack.
If all goes well, the 2018 World Cup will be one of the greatest triumphs of Putin's first 200 years in office. The only risk is that Putin's ego becomes so gigantically enlarged that he actually pops.
From bottom of my heart, thank you.
Putin is determined for the tournament to go smoothly, so he can rebuild a positive image of Russia and himself.
I always like Vladimir Putin's image building, all these photos he does where he's getting presented with a puppy. Ice skating, fishing or something. His life's kind of like a 6-year-old's birthday party.
There he is on a horse. He likes a horse. He's a one-man centre parks. If I ever get to meet Putin, I'll probably take my top off and challenge him to an erotically charged wrestling match, which I'll let him win. To me, Putin is a fascinating and shadowy figure. He's a former officer in the KGB who has ruled Russia with an iron grip for almost 19 years, cracking down ruthlessly on any critics.
Cartoonist.
But to a lot of Russians, he's a genuine hero.
Well, the door's locked.
I've come to downtown Moscow to meet someone who thinks Putin can do no wrong.
How you doing, man?
Hi, guys.
Sergey. Nice to meet you, man.
Sergei Kalenik works in PR. He's also written a comic book portraying Putin as a daredevil martial arts expert. I'm hoping Sergei can give me an idea if Putin can pull off the PR coup of the decade to put on a World Cup which creates a positive image of Russia.
Meet my friend Vladimir.
Big lad.
Stop.
Are you a bit of a Putin stalker?
Yeah.
You're a big fan of Putin?
Yes, of course. Nobody can do what Putin doing. And people like this. If Putin wasn't the people's choice, he won't be a president.
You know that in the West, he's got quite a bad image, really. They think that the photos and stuff that he does, they find that a little bit kind of ridiculous.
Putin is just a person that trying to do his best. All this fake news, all this propaganda about evil Russia, about evil Putin, everything in the West trying to paint Russia in black and white colors, like it's a shame, it's dictatorship and something like this. But come on, guys, it's not working like this.
How do you think the World Cup's going to go?
I think it will come brilliant. What can go wrong?
Is there any worries about hooligans or anything?
I can guarantee you that will be zero troubles. Don't be afraid of anything. Propaganda is propaganda and reality is reality. And we will see that Moscow is typical European city. For Russia, it's very important to make a good picture, a good image.
Sergei worked with illustrators to give Putin's image a makeover by creating a comic strip called Super Putin.
You're a super guy.
Super Putin is the protector of the nation's traditional values, fighting off an army of zombie liberals. The same liberals that actual Putin has been at ideological war with since he came to power. A key battleground has been Russia's less than liberal legislation around homosexuality.
We have a different culture because in Russia culture we don't have such things of gays at all. We have.
Well, you do have gay guys here.
We have guys that are addicted to sex. It's not normal in culture to always say, "Come on, I'm addicted to sex." It's your local problem.
You must understand, almost nobody in the world agrees with that. And it seems on the outside, I mean, other than in the Middle East or something.
Yeah, but
from the outside, that seems like a really intolerant position.
Why? It's absolutely tolerant position.
Because gay people are allowed to love whoever they want, they're allowed to make love to whoever they want, and they shouldn't be told whether they can or can't by the state.
I don't know why you're so obsessed with this.
I'm not obsessed with it. I just,
it's propaganda about Russia, the image of Russia.
No, it's not propaganda about Russia, and I couldn't be further removed from the sort of people who believe propaganda about Russia. But I think if Russia wants to present itself on the world stage as progressive in any way, that's a very silly law to have.
When you think that there's no propaganda and there's a
I don't think
this is definitely propaganda.
Oh, yeah, I mean, always question everything, but I don't have to question whether gay people should have exactly the same rights as straight people, because it's all about equality. And surely the founding of Russia and communism and socialism and everything is all about equality. And if it's equality for anyone, it's equality for gays and straights the same as it is for women and men, the same as it is for everybody.
I'm shocked that Sergei has such an archaic point of view. It feels so at odds with a country that prides itself on being a wealthy and civilised superpower. Ever since David Hasselhoff brought communism to an end in 1991, society has changed radically and money has flooded in. Moscow is heaving with billionaires. For young affluent Russians, image is now everything.
One of the most surprising things about Russia is that loads of cafes, loads of restaurants have this kind of hipsterish vibe about it that I thought was quite a London thing. Turns out it's not. I wonder if it's because Russians own so much of the property in London. Like maybe people are like, trust me, this will work for a restaurant idea. I have 364 flats in Shoreditch. I know what I'm talking about. Or maybe it went the other way, you know? Maybe it originated here, and Russian people, when they came over to London, were like, we need to civilize this place. Start serving fries on a skateboard and pouring cocktails out of a watering can. Teach these people how to live.
So hipsterish is Moscow that after only a few days here, I'm feeling the need to sharpen up my own image.
In Russia, a beard is seen as a sign of masculinity and heterosexuality. And it's true. Since I've been here, almost all the men I've had sex with have been clean-shaven. But Russian ideas about masculinity are changing, and male grooming is being seen as more important. Russian men, especially the younger generation, are expected to take more care of their appearance, and trendy hipster barbershops are popping up all over Moscow. What do you think you could do with this? Because I feel my beard is very untidy.
Yeah.
I feel my hair is very untidy.
Yeah.
And I feel my eyebrows are sort of like a dog that's on its way out or something.
So I can help you. A girl barber can do a man handsome, brutal and masculine. Yeah.
Well, I'm up for that.
Lisa Sokolova has set up Moscow's first all-female barbershop.
Actually, the Russian society, a hairdresser, he can only be, for example, a gay or a girl. But for those men who are afraid of gay hairdressers, they prefer to go to girls.
They're afraid of gay hairdressers?
Yes, yeah. In Russia, we have like these very patriarchal traditions, and mostly men want to be dominant.
Right.
Yeah, we love this like traditional gender things. We like manpower. Russian girls, they dream about a strong, brave hero who will defend them, who will take care of them. In Russia, the society is not feminist. And I'm not a feminist myself, so I don't like all this like feminist bullshit. I think that I always protect men when somebody says that men are like doing something wrong, when they offend you or something. So Russian men like to take care of women, and they don't want women to be like bosses. They don't want women to be in politics. They don't want women to be strong.
All the stuff you're saying about the Russian idea of women can't be the boss and can't be in control, but you are the boss.
Yes, and I'm strong.
You are strong.
And I'm strong.
And you are all these things.
Yes. Russian girls are something specific because on the one hand we're quite like this princess style and all these like ladylike girls, but on the other hand we are very strong because after the Second World War, because there were not so much men left after the war. So you know that Soviet Union was the first country where men and women started to be equal in rights.
Do Russian people have any images of what Britain's like?
I really do respect Great Britain and British people. I really love British humor. For example, your show like Little Britain. But yeah, I watched your stand-up shows and I don't understand a word.
Nobody understands
me. Because it's the humor. It's not typical for Russian people. You make fun of the things which I don't understand. But you look nice. I like, and the people are laughing. People like coming up to you at the street and asking you for that. They say, "Oh, I love you so much. You are my I don't know. You're my god."
Not many of those.
What else can I say? Great Britain is known for football and football fans. Most Russian football fans take after British football fans. It's very trendy to be like a British football fan. They like Burberry, Fred Perry.
Do you ever get people in here who are football hooligans?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, football hooligans. And I also had a boyfriend who was a football fan. For example, after the fight, when he was injured hard, I took him to the hospital with this head and blood falling from him, and I felt like I'm this hero girl. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very romantic. It's very interesting to talk to you.
Yeah,
you're a nice person. Yeah.
After Lisa's compliment, I enjoy one of those heady moments of feeling so good that I decide to walk 600 miles to my next destination. But after 5 minutes, I'm so cold that I opt to take the train. The largest city in the south is Rostov-on-Don. It has a good football team and a reputation for some violent supporters. The journey to Rostov lasts 20 hours, but it beats flying. The only reason to take an internal flight in Russia is to see the beautiful countryside as your plane cartwheels into a forest. The train is also the perfect opportunity to relax and have a nap. But alas, I haven't had a wink of sleep in the last 14 years, which goes some way to explain some of my more serious psychological disorders.
Russia has 11 World Cup host cities, but I've decided to come to Rostov for a very good reason. It's twinned with Glasgow.
The two cities have been twinned for over 30 years, but 5 years ago, after Russia passed an anti-gay law, Glasgow debated cutting ties with Rostov, a process known as Glexit by absolutely no one.
Like the two ugliest people at the disco, Rostov and Glasgow got together when every other city in the world had already paired up. When Rostov and Glasgow were twinned, the sigh of relief from Mogadishu could be heard around the world. Now, the people of Rostov and Glasgow might seem very different on the surface, but deep down inside they have something important in common: cirrhosis of the liver.
And the two cities share another passion: a square go. Glasgow and Rostov-on-Don have both been listed as two of the top 10 most dangerous cities in Europe, according to worldatlas.com. In 2017, Rostov pummeled its way to number 1, with Glasgow a very creditable 9.
Does this remind you of Glasgow, Frankie?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, certain parts of Glasgow. Well, obviously the huge Russian Orthodox communities in both.
Are you surprised at Russia so far?
I'm sort of surprised by how nice everything is. Everything's in no way as kind of like decrepit as sort of our image of Russia is. You know, we have this idea of like something transitioning from the Soviet era into a modern era, but there's still all this kind of very old stuff, or that was my image of it. Whereas actually it seems very modern, and it seems to be growing, you know, so this town seems to be on the up. That's how it feels.
During the World Cup, Rostov-on-Don will host 5 football games in its new purpose-built 45,000-seater stadium that stands on the banks of the mighty River Don.
The River Don, on which the city stands, divides it into 2 parts, the Asian and European parts of Russia. It's a city of 1 million people with a large Cossack population. Cossacks were warriors who ventured into Siberia in pursuit of skins and ivory. Warriors so bored of humanity, they decided to fight elephants in a town where the air is made of ice. Why wouldn't you want to be a Cossack?
The Cossacks have a proud history, drenched in blood, vodka, and horses. Around 700 years ago, they escaped from serfdom and fled to the Badlands of southern Russia, where they finally had the freedom to live a quiet life of plunder and pillage. Anyone coming to Rostov-on-Don for the World Cup is going to see plenty of Cossacks. President Putin is giving them special powers as a kind of private police force, assigned to stamp out any antisocial behaviour. The Cossacks played a similar role at the Sochi Winter Olympics, where they helped to keep the peace in true Cossack fashion. Of course, not all Cossacks are whip-wielding psychopaths. There are some of a more sensitive persuasion. Here's one, Max Ilanov, the rapper. Through his music, Max wants to show the more soft and gooey side of the Cossack lifestyle. I'm a huge fan of hip-hop, and I'm looking forward to hearing Max flow. But first, he wants to introduce me to the culture.
How you doing, man? You Max?
Max.
How you doing, mate? I'm Frankie.
Frankie. Это тоже Max.
Also Max.
Hey, how you doing,
Hello.
Max?
Translate.
This is cool. You got a sword?
Шашка.
Oh, it's a stick.
It's a weapon.
Oh, right. No shit. It's a sword.
Рубить будем, скажи.
You arrived yesterday just?
Aye, yeah. I don't fly, so I've just been taking trains everywhere.
Они в Платов прилетали? Аэропорт Платов?
Нет, он говорит, на поездах ездит.
Не, а прилетали они? Он прилетел?
Я говорю, он на поезде ехал.
А, на поезде?
Да.
Ох, нифига себе.
Max and his brother-in-law, Little Max, are taking me to meet his mum to celebrate International Women's Day. First, they want to buy her some flowers.
They've left their sword. They're not going to abandon us.
International Women's Day is a worldwide campaign to promote equal rights. In Russia, they mainly do this with fresh flowers, compliments for the ladies, and a special message from President Putin.
Дорогие женщины России, от всего сердца поздравляю вас с Международным женским днем. Только вы, женщины, способны создавать радушную атмосферу на работе и в семье, брать на себя повседневные заботы о доме и детях. Еще раз поздравляю вас, дорогие наши женщины, с праздником. Будьте любимы и счастливы.
I don't think that guy's going to be a lot of use to women today. It's just...
Flowers. Happy Women's Day.
Yeah, now we're arriving to our parents' house. Here's my mother, Alexandra.
Сань, надо переодеваться.
How are you doing? Pleased to meet you. I'm Frankie. Pleased to meet you. What are these for Women's Day? This sword isn't mine, this is his.
Cossacks pride themselves on being fierce with their enemies and soft with their friends.
With cabbage and with the liver.
Liver and cabbage?
Yeah, but maybe this is with the liver and this with the cabbage.
Okay.
But
it's like vegetarian roulette.
It's better to test to understand where what.
Okay.
Drink. Cossacks drink.
Is it alcoholic though?
No alcohol. Abricos.
Apricot.
That's really nice.
Okay.
Apricot juice and cabbage pastries, man.
Yeah.
Good. I drank too much when I was younger. I don't drink anymore. Yeah. I used up my goes.
And you don't drink at all?
Don't drink at all. No, not for
Never?
20 years. Oh no, before I drank a lot.
And
too much.
so you will never?
No, never again. Never again.
Can you drink not too much and stop at all?
No.
Maybe
That's exactly what I can't do. That was what I was weak at. Yeah.
For travellers coming to Russia for the World Cup, there will be opportunities to enjoy this kind of Cossack hospitality. Some Russians will be renting out rooms during the tournament.
This is my room.
Oh, yeah.
Rostov Celtic.
Right, come on.
Yeah, that's why, because I like football.
But I suspect Max won't want any English fans to stay, in case they sniff out what he's got hidden in the basement.
Here's the wine laboratory. It's the special secret room, like a safe. Yeah. Because here is a lot of wine.
Oh, wow.
There's enough homebrew here to strip the paint off the fourth bridge.
Yeah, this is a lot.
So the key from this place has only mother.
Right.
And she has it on the chest.
Something tells me they know where Mum keeps that key.
The end, Halloween.
And it's starting to make me nervous.
Так, Фредерик. Давай Фредерика сейчас позовем. Фредерик.
Frankie.
Frankie.
Max a bit drunk.
If you can't remember my name, I'm not standing with that sore.
Ты должен запомнить его имя, а то тебе...
A drunken Max introduces me to the deadly Cossack shashka.
Shashka is the #1 blade in the world.
Cossacks, шашка.
He will show you, and then
I have a go.
Я не буду рубить.
Sure, yeah.
Фрэнки, мы берем шашку.
There is a master class of Max.
This cabbage is no match for Max and his shashka. With saber skills like these, the Cossacks helped the Tsars conquer Siberia, the Caucasus, and Central Asia in return for land, privileges, and booze.
Okay.
Не спеши.
That was an untidy.
Фрэнки. Да.
A bit more strength, more power.
Люба, казаки, Люба, ирландцы, Люба, Фрэнк.
Okay.
More passion.
Состояние.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel intense, man. I feel like I really fucked that guy up. Very sinister. It's quite frightening to be slashing through the air with that.
These traditions, first of all, love and believe in God. Then
saber.
Yeah,
First love, then love doesn't work.
If you come to us with love, we give you all the love. But don't mess with colors.
As it's International Women's Day, it's the men's job to prepare the fish stew.
I tend to bake potatoes literally so that I don't have to do this. So a difference in skill levels here of food preparation.
Так, и вот ту миску си.
Thankfully, Glasgow has a vibrant barbecue culture, so I can really muck in here.
Fish heads.
Давай ему секунду туда. Piece by piece. Yeah, like this.
Families here live in a strong hierarchical system, where the man's word is law.
Царю небесный, утешителю души истины, и спаси блаже души наша. Святый Боже, святый крепкий, святый бессмертный, помилуй нас. Приятного аппетита! Прошу за стол. Будем мы всем вам рады, и наш дом,
You're always welcome.
ваш дом, будем дружить.
This house is your house. Friendship and love is the most important things in the world.
И за это хочется...
And we want to drink about this.
Это... Люба! Люба!
I'd just like to say thanks for taking me into your home and showing me about being a Cossack and for teaching me to truly fear the sabre.
It's another round of homebrew vodka for the men and apricot juice for me and the women. I'm starting to warm to the Cossack life. Maybe I should get myself a shashka and a wife and a cabbage and settle down here. Get back on the vodka, stab a few pumpkins, go full Cossack. Why not? It's all too horribly tempting, so I make a run for it while I can. Rostov-on-Don is close to the border with war-torn eastern Ukraine, a country that Russia invaded 4 years ago. Fans staying here may feel a little uneasy.
Thanks.
But they should have no fear. The hotels in Rostov-on-Don are taking the safety of their guests very seriously indeed.
Just found this in the wee book they give you in your room. If you are held hostage or kidnapped, do not resist. Execute the initial orders of terrorists. They can be people with unhealthy state of mind and behave unpredictable. They are notoriously unpredictable terrorists. I shouldn't imagine at the Premier Inn Lenny Henry ever has to do any of this.
After another sleepless night, I go for a psychotic amble through the streets of Rostov.
Rostov has a reputation as quite a tough town, but it seems to be really nice so far. The football fans have a reputation for being quite tough. There's a big game against Zenit tomorrow, which is supposed to be a bit of a grudge match. We'll see.
FC Rostov are the underdogs of the Russian Premier League. Their nickname is Muziki, or Tough Guys, and their supporters love nothing more than to take their shirts off and kick each other's rib cages in. Here's a pack of Rostov fans squaring off against Moscow Lokomotiv, like two jellyfish trying to mate. This may be the most erotic footage I've ever seen. Hooliganism has been a blight on Russian domestic football for decades. It became an international problem when Russian fans ran riot in Marseille at the European Championship 2 years ago.
This is Russian football, floodlights for a 2 o'clock kick-off.
I'm hoping to speak to a Rostov hooligan at the match and find out if the violence is as bad as the press make out.
The Rostov number 9 is amazing, and the Rostov number 12 is terrible. And he keeps kind of putting him through a goal, and he keeps missing, so tension's building in this stand. I got a new phone when I arrived in Russia. I bought it from a shop, but it's obviously like a stolen phone. that belong to a middle-aged lady, because I keep getting like WhatsApps through of other middle-aged ladies. They're like showing this woman the new jumper they've got, or things like that, man. I feel really bad.
I'm surprised at how non-confrontational this match is turning out to be. Where's the famous violence?
I feel a bit like Danny Dyer having built this up as a big kind of like grudge match with hooligans and things, because it feels like a real kind of family-friendly vibe, and they've got loads of kids about.
This isn't what I was expecting. Has Rostov's reputation for violence been overstated? Or could there be other reasons behind the friendly atmosphere? It was time to speak to my director.
So, any progress on getting this hooligan to interview?
Well, we've done everything. Nobody's doing it. They're not letting us. The story we've been told is that the FSB are going around people's houses, all the known hooligans, and they're knocking on the door and they're basically saying to them, you either leave the country or you stay at home and you do nothing. So nobody's going to speak to us.
He's threatening them.
Yeah, definitely.
The hooligans also really don't like the BBC.
You don't like the BBC?
They do not like the BBC.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm sad that we won't be able to talk to any of these people, because I find them quite fascinating, you know. I think hooligans get a hard press. People say, oh, these troublemakers, you know, they never really care about the football. If anything, they care about the football too much, you know. You never hear anyone saying, well, these ultras have taken the recent run of bad form incredibly well. Surprisingly calm about the whole thing. So yeah, would I like to talk to someone like that, but sadly, it's not going to happen.
There's only one thing that could cheer me up. A World Cup song. The worse the World Cup song, the more I love it. My Cossack friend Max is writing an unofficial World Cup song for Russia, and today he's asked me to help him out.
It's a terrifying building. If this was a computer game, you'd be like reloading before you went round this corner.
Sань?
The bleak climb up a desolate stairwell has got me in the zone for some game-changing Cossack rap.
Max is rapping about the World Cup, and I've tried to rap about Russia and Cossacks, but I don't really know anything about either of those things, so it could be interesting.
Дон футбольный тоже вольный, ведь он дон. Временные колесы на левом на стадион. Хлеб и зрелище трибунны, гладиатор с мячом. Все делают волну, волна как шторм. На финальную игру прут армады, вечный спор. Проигравшие эскадры, рыбам корм. Дружные фанаты переходят Рубикон. Ой, нет! Ой, нет! Ну или Скотланд чемпион, или Ингланд чемпион, Вообще, она вообще тема.
Вот, то есть туда сейчас пойдем, наденешь и спокойно.
Wait, can I hear what the beat?
Подожди, что он говорит сейчас?
Can I hear where the beat comes in?
Да, вот смотри.
Проигравшие эскадры, рыбам корм, дружные фанаты переходят Рубикон. Фрэнки, go! Фрэнки, тут Фрэнки.
A Cossack and a Bossack on a composition like Dvorak.
Frankie, please near to me.
Ближе?
Oh, near to the mic. I've never rapped over a beat before, so it's fucking quite difficult.
Фрэнки?
И начинаешь. Понял?
Invading your shit like fucking Julius Caesar. It's Game of Thrones and we're the gears as fucking Khaleesa. We're beefing with FIFA, supplying Putin with reefer. We turn you on like Bathsheba, then cut you off like Crimea. A BBC blang tang, pumpkin to pumpkin. You know our golden flows impress the hose like Potemkin. Fuck that last bit up. Get that last bit again. Ow! A BBC Blang Tang, pumpkin to pimp king. You know our golden flows and press the hose like Potemkin.
Wow, very good.
Cheers, man.
Frankie.
That's the first time I've done that, man. That's my first time.
Да, Фрэнки, вообще супер. Да.
Oh, he's put it up on Facebook. I hope people in Scotland see that. They'll be so baffled. Like, what is he doing? Invading your shit like fucking Julius Caesar. It's Game of Thrones and we're the gears is fucking Khaleesa. We're beefing with FIFA, supplying Putin with Reaper. We turn you on like Bathsheba, then cut you off like Crimea. BBC Blang Tang, pumpkin to pimp. You know our golden flows and press the hose like Potemkin. I've never done something and felt less. Nailed it.
It's almost time to get straight out of Rostov. But before I go, MC Max wants me to swing past his place.
My cat. Пушок.
Пушок.
А еще и my автомат. Вот тоже my picture. Это Putin.
Vladimir Putin, are you a fan?
Да. Каддафи.
All the greats.
Max likes to paint portraits of icons, which makes his next request all the more surprising.
You painting.
Yeah,
okay?
You're going to paint me?
Да.
Great, man, yeah, I'm all for it.
Вот садись сюда,
I'm on the saddle?
Да, все, и вообще. Вот садись, вот так вот.
Am I mounting it correctly?
О, Фрэнки?
Can I be a Cossack?
Да, козак. Папаха, вот так. О, very good. Вообще классно, Фрэнки.
Cossack.
Козак Фрэнки. Классно, Фрэнки.
Is my form right?
Вообще.
I'm looking across the steppes, mate, across the plains.
Фрэнки супер козакс. О.
Max will be exhibiting his paintings for tourists during the World Cup. Whether my portrait will make the grade remains to be seen.
Action painting.
Then.
I think it's very flattered, man. I like it. Yeah. I think you've been kind to me, man. You've taken a few pounds off there.
Frankie Don Cossacks.
I think you've captured my essential nobility really well. I've put love to you, Max, my Cossack pimp king.
Frankie, спасибо. Спасибо.
At last I've found my rightful place on this earth, snuggled in between these two legends. My experience in Rostov-on-Don suggests there'll be no violence at the World Cup, no matter how much England fans richly deserve it. The World Cup's a chance for Russia to rework its image, and not only with videos of strange national stereotypes. They've also taken the progressive step of giving a woman a top World Cup job. Meet Victoria.
It's a big honor and a huge responsibility to represent my country around the world and to be the first woman FIFA ambassador in the history of the World Cup.
It's only 100 days before the tournament kicks off, so Victoria's hosting a press conference and demonstrating the sort of penalty England will go out taking in the quarter-finals.
I would like to say that the main message from FIFA this year for this World Cup is zero discrimination and everyone's welcome.
So Russia's World Cup is looking good. The stadiums are being built There's a woman in charge, and the hooligans have promised not to kill anyone. What could possibly go wrong?
It really is like the Cold War. Police in full chemical suits on the streets of Salisbury and a Russian double agent who worked for MI6 feared poisoned and critically ill.
When a former Russian spy and his daughter are found slumped near Zizi's, it's not the prawn linguine the British press are quick to blame.
If it was the Russians, could they be any more blatant?
This diplomatic incident between Britain and Russia is heating up at home. MPs today are talking about trying to take the World Cup away from Russia, as if British MPs have any influence over that. It's like, it's sort of like a branch of TIRAC trying to decide what the scheduling of the Eurostar is or something. It's just all going to happen anyway. So this guy, Patrick Winter, he's saying Putin wants oligarchs out of London. I mean, the attack wasn't even in London, but I don't think oligarchs go to Zizi's, which is where this happened.
It is now clear that Mr. Skripal and his daughter were poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent. The government has concluded that it is highly likely that Russia was responsible.
We don't know who did this yet. Maybe it was Russia. It's quite possible it was Russia. Maybe it was Britain. Maybe it was someone else. To be honest, a guy nearly dying on a bench outside Zizi's, that's got British workmanship written all over it.
Anglo-Russian relations quickly plunge into their sorriest state since Litvinenko ordered a sushi platter. And the accusations fly.
It is tragic that President Putin has chosen to act in this way.
I think anyone with common sense understands that it's nonsensical for Russia to do such a thing before the World Cup. It's just crazy.
With Britain and Russia on the verge of World War III, I'm starting to feel a wee bit twitchy. What if the Secret Services are following me? How do I even know what they look like? Maybe it's her, working undercover. Maybe it's me.
We're out filming today. Everyone in the crew is getting messages from home, contacting us all, going, are you safe? Is it safe out there? Britain has expelled 23 Russian diplomats and the royal family aren't going to the World Cup. I think Russians' attitudes to royal families is ambivalent at best. They have a checkered track record in that area. And we've not noticed yet us getting followed by any security services or anything, but to be honest, I would welcome being compromised. I think today, I'd quite like to be pissed on just to warm up, to be honest.
With relations between Russia and Britain at the worst they've been in decades, this is not the best time for an opinionated Scotsman to broadcast his views here. But I've been invited back to Moscow to do exactly that on an English-speaking radio show.
Welcome back to Capital Sports here on Moscow's Capital FM. I'm Alan Moore, and here with me today, I am very, very happy to say we have the man and the legend, Mr. Frankie Boyle. Frankie, welcome to Capital FM.
Alan Moore is a top Irish sports journalist who's worked in Russia for 10 years. Today he's asked me on his weekly show, so long as I only talk about football.
What's your first World Cup memory? What's the first World Cup you remember?
Oh, that's a good one. I remember the Hand of God thing, obviously, in '86 really well.
Of course, the Hand of God has haunted England ever since, because it was 20 years after they won the World Cup at home. Is that then karma paying England back, that they're not going to win the World Cup ever again?
I think if it's karma for the British Empire, I think the team playing is going to crash into an oil refinery on the way here. I mean, there's no way it's enough for what they've done.
Okay, we'll move on very quickly.
But try as we might to change the subject, the Salisbury spy scandal just won't go away. Particularly when Boris Johnson tiptoes in, cross between a head injury and an unmade bed. A malevolent baked Alaska, accusing Putin of turning the World Cup into a propaganda exercise.
Yes, I think the comparison with 1936 is
is certainly right.
The 1936 that Boris is making a tactful comparison to is Hitler's 1936 Olympics. A comparison that makes absolutely no sense to Russians.
That seems to have touched a bit of a nerve.
I think that's upset a lot of people. Like, you know, when Boris Johnson compares modern-day Russia to Nazi Germany after everything that happened in the Second World War and 25 million people losing their lives to fight for, you know,
that's
freedom.
a big button to press for Russian people, isn't it? If you start talking about the Nazis that they fought so hard against.
For the Russians, it's difficult to understand why Britain is picking on them, because they put a lot of stock by Great Britain, and they love British things. I mean, Hamley's Toy Store is a huge hit here, and Marks and Spencer. So it's upsetting for Russians. I think it's kind of unfortunate, a lot of what's going on.
You sort of feel like if they really don't like Putin in the West, they're sort of going the worst way about getting rid of him, because everything they do, from encircling Russia with nuclear bases to sanctions, everything they do plays into his narrative of, oh, Russia's under siege. He has such a vast country, it covers 11 time zones. How do you create a story that bonds all those people together that isn't us against the world? Do you know what I mean? So they kind of are playing into his hands a bit.
Are we in the West playing into Putin's hands? Have we been seduced by his rugged outdoorsman masculinity? Do we even subconsciously desire to be sexually dominated by him? Well, I can't speak for everyone, but what I do know is that the World Cup couldn't be better timed for Russia. With World War III inching ever closer, what greater distraction could there be than for Russia to host the biggest show on earth?
A lot of people are worried about this World Cup. And strange as it is to see FIFA associated with corruption, the choice of Qatar as the next World Cup venue has surely taken some of the pressure off. Russia must know that to be seen as a fairly safe choice, all they need to do is avoid working any slaves to death or stoning the wags. Of course, this has been billed as the tournament from hell, because the tournament of minor transport delays to some venues wouldn't sell any newspapers. Anyway, they don't play football in hell, they play cricket. They play cricket all day long, and every 1,000 years they have a break for the Tour de France.
Next week, I'll be making another half-hearted attempt to get behind the scenes of Russia's World Cup.
Thanks, man. Bit of a shocker for the fans, the introduction of a 45-year-old captain.
I'll be visiting one of the wealthiest clubs in the country.
It feels like quite an alien experience to come here, you know, it feels quite Viking and stuff.
Bearing all at a post-match sauna.
Do you have women?
Do I have women? Would I be here if I had a woman?
And braving the most dangerous footballers in Russia.
You wonder what the injury lists are like in this game, you know? Ilovich is missing this season as he's lost both legs at the knee.